Hello and welcome to another Red Shirt podcast with Vernon and Nigel. Well, Nigel, it's crisp, it's beautiful and sunny. There's a chill in the air, and we've got to say it's a big welcome to King Ralf Rangnick. It's a new era, Nigel.
Who called it? Who called it first?
Nigel, I've got to say, and I've got to give this a mention. Yeah, it has been something that you've been bringing to the table for a long time. You know, we've been talking about other managers, but I must say that you've always been coming back with more info on Ralf. You know what I mean? If anybody could buy shares in Ralf, it's going to be Nigel.
That's right, my friend. That's right, my friend.
I mean, you've been comfortable. You know, it's right to say, Nigel, you've been comfortable with this appointment from day one, haven't you?
100%. I think this is exactly what we need. We didn't just need another manager. Okay, I mean, to take what everyone said, we've tried the elite manager in Mourinho, didn't work. We tried Fergie's choice in Moyes, didn't work. We tried the apprentice. To be fair, the apprentice, when you look back over time, I think it worked. It almost worked. It got us to a point. It got us from where we were, which was very toxic, to a place where everyone began to feel happy around the place again. But now it's time for that guy, the professor almost, the one that's going to, rank and file changes from the top to the bottom, completely make United fit for purpose for the 21st century, so that we truly become that elite club. That requires somebody that's got a history of doing that, building clubs from the ground upwards, who just sees the problems, can troubleshoot very quickly and fix the problems. And that's Ralf, man.
So, I mean, it is. And I mean, I think like what people have got to, just in case anybody hasn't been around in the last 2 weeks, Ralf comes in as an interim manager. Yeah, he comes in as an interim manager for the next 6 months. Then after the next 6 months, he gets another 2-year contract as a consultant. So what we're basically talking about, Nigel, is a director of football, aren't we? He's going to he's going to build the club.
You would think that. However, I have heard something differently recently, and I don't know if you've heard it, but what they were saying was when they approached him and offered him the 6-month contract, to turn it down and say he doesn't want to be around for 6 months. And I think this could almost be his audition for the job. If he doesn't get the job, he still goes upstairs. But I think behind the scenes, everyone's kind of hoping that he has an amazing second half of the season and then can rightly get the job. We'd almost be begging for him to get the job. And if it doesn't work out, then he goes upstairs. So that's what I've heard. So we'll see. In any case, it's good news.
Yeah, I think from what what my understanding is pretty similar to yours. But I mean, I think what's going to happen is it's his job to implement the culture of football that the club's going to play from top to bottom. He's a developer of clubs, isn't he, Nigel? I mean, This is the guy who's obviously, he introduced the Guggen press, to the world, didn't he? That's what he that was his. And you've got to understand, people. Look, there are some people that haven't heard of him before, but I mean, this is the guy whose proteges include Tuchel, Klopp, Hasenhüttl, Nagelsmann. So basically, you look at like German football at this moment in time, it's almost they're on par with Portuguese coaches when it comes to, as a country, they have top coaches, don't they? There's a philosophy there, and I think the thing is that it's his job now as well to identify the right manager to play the football that we're introducing.
And Ralph's going to go, I think I'm the right manager.
Well, it's quite interesting, Nigel, because it's a similar situation which happened to him last year, basically, at AC Milan. He was obviously, going to take up the reins for the beginning of this season. What happened? The coach at AC Milan in an interim period did so well that, and became so comfortable with the players that basically Milan just thought, well, we can't, really sort of like change this now. We don't want the disruption. Now, I think what a lot of people don't know was that Rangnick turned down the Chelsea position that Tuchel took up. He was offered that position and just said, no, it's not what I want.
Yeah, it's not the right project. Yeah.
It's not the right project. So, I mean, this is a guy that, when it comes to sort of like, it's almost, do you remember, Nigel, 25 years ago when Arsene Wenger came to the English game and people were like, Arsene who?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like one of those moments. Now, the thing is with him is, and I think what a lot of people realize, he doesn't suffer fools, does he, Nigel?
Well, I tell you what, he definitely doesn't. And we'll have to talk about that because there's implications in terms of which players can adopt to his philosophy and which ones can't. So you remember we talked about when Ollie got all the players, we said, well, now Ollie's got no excuses. He has to deliver because he's got a stellar team. And I think the one missing bit was, Ollie had to deliver. We didn't necessarily talk about the players having to deliver. Now the players have no excuse because now they've got an elite manager, who's going to bring an elite coach. So now we're really going to see which players were the bluffers on the bus and which ones are genuinely going to thrive in this new environment. So already you think of players like Sancho and Van der Beek, who will probably thrive in this new regime. And then you have to worry about players maybe like Tony Marshall, who if he can turn it on, great, but he's never been one to fully embrace the press. I know I've seen him do it a couple of times, but he was one that would never really kind of fully embrace this heavy metal football like they keep talking about. I tell you what makes me smile though. I love the fact that when they interviewed Klopp on it, you could literally see the terror in his eyes. It's like, for us, Klopp was like the Messiah coming to Premier League football, where it's like, no, you don't realise this is the real guru. And it's like,
there was no teeth and tonsils in that interview, was there?
Absolutely, was there?
There was no teeth, the old cloppy teeth and tonsils. You couldn't see that. But I think the thing for me is obviously this is a man that will get the team fit. If there was a huge criticism from a technical point of view about United, Nigel, you'd hear players say that off the ball they're shocking. The shape off the ball was terrible. And you could see that. I mean, I think like you could see the difference in the game, and we'll get to it in a bit. The Chelsea game, but the difference in the distance. You look at Liverpool and City. The distance between players and the opposition was huge. Whereas on Sunday, and I don't care what anybody says, Nigel, no, Ralf wasn't coaching. No, Darren Fletcher wasn't on the phone with his earphones to Ralf. Well, who was he on the phone to? And I know that Carrick wants to say, yeah, I picked the team, but I'm thinking, there's some big decisions made here, like with Ronaldo obviously being dropped to the bench or rested to the bench, but the thing is the one thing that, I mean, Nigel, I know that you like a stat, and, you look at, like, I think Ollie's last game was United had only run something like 101 kilometers as a team. In Mourinho's last game, they had actually run 108 kilometers. So it showed you the difference in fitness. Now, I think what he'll do is he'll be drilling them. Because it's high, intense pressing football, isn't it, Nigel?
Yeah. How far do the Liverpools run on average? Do we know?
They will run probably between sort of like, say, 108 to about 115, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because but what the difference is with Liverpool is their press starts with the strikers, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So basically it starts with them. So just
touching on the whole was he actually coaching that game? I mean, obviously it's funny because I thought Carrick has done okay for his 2 games in charge is what I was thinking. I was concluding that, to get a win away in Europe and then to come home and get a draw against Chelsea, that's no shame. You can kind of hold your head up high. Like you took care of business for the
you would have taken those 2 results
You would have
before the
taken
game,
those 2
wouldn't you?
results. Yeah. And so, but obviously, the last interview or the interview before the next game was very interesting when he started talking about, well, he's not even spoken to him yet. And I'm thinking, well, what does that mean when you say you're not, you think the first thing you do is have a chat with the manager to let him know how things are and what to expect when he arrives. So I just thought Carrick just seemed a little bit, his body language just kind of suggested that really he's not happy about what's going on. And there's talk about, firstly, that the players weren't happy that they weren't consulted. That's nonsense as far as I'm concerned. What's it got to do with the players? Their job is to turn up and play. But then they were
Correct.
talking of, yeah. But then they were talking of, go on.
For me, I've got to say, I think this has been handled. I mean, like, I think like the way that the board handled it really was pretty slow, because I think Ollie should have gone on the international break. Personally, I know that they wanted, to work through it, but what I've got to say, which I was really happy about, Nigel, I don't know about you, but when Ralf was appointed, Ralf Rangnick, it was footballing people at the club that were making statements, i.e. Darren Fletcher and John Murtagh. And that's how it should be, because
that's how, exactly.
Because what you've got now is really what Ralf should be doing after the 6 months, if he's not taken on as a manager, is taking John Murtagh and Darren Fletcher upstairs and showing them how to be a director of football.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. This is what should be happening. So, a point of view, I was happy that people like Woodward weren't making statements, and obviously Richard Arnold wasn't making statements. It was footballing people within the club, because basically Darren Fletcher and John Murtagh should be in charge of the actual process of appointing and being involved with the next manager, because unfortunately, Nigel, the board has got it wrong, haven't they? So wrong in the past.
It's ridiculous, and it's ridiculous how they've got it wrong. And do you know what? Football, we say all the time, football is actually a very simple game. And I think that the same goes for upstairs as well. It's a very simple game, and it really takes a certain level of incompetence to kind of get it so drastically wrong.
And we've got it so drastically wrong, haven't we, Nigel?
We've had it so wrong for so long. But that's what happens when you put the accountant in charge. It happens in every walk of business. Once the accountant gets the top job, you're in trouble. Because you can only look through the lens of numbers, as opposed to look through, the culture of a club. The fact that if you create a good feeling, that actually equals X amount in terms of money, because more people are invested in your product. So, accountants never see that, whereas marketers and media savvy people and people that just have an understanding of a club's history, get that straight away. Hence, someone like Alex Ferguson, who understood the power of the brand and the power of the fans, and how this club is loved all around the world, and let's use that, so.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the way that, if we want to just look at the style of play, so the style of play that he wants to introduce, obviously, is a high intense press. So basically it's win the ball after 8 seconds. Once you've got the ball, it's not to pass it back or to the side, is to go forward. And apparently the ultimate challenge is, once you've won the ball back, is to actually get a shot on goal within 10 seconds. Now, to me,
when I heard that, especially when I heard the object is not to pass it backwards, do you know what? It's like, it's ridiculous how just that line really kind of puts a smile on your face, because it's the way we play football. This watching United pass the ball backward, that turgid football, it's like, what are you doing? I remember Roy Keane back in the day when somebody, I think Alan Smith did it, and he actually rolled to him and said, we don't pass the ball backwards, we only go forwards, because our intention is to score a goal. And then where did this awful turgid football come from, where we kept passing it side to side and backwards? And that goes back to hear the guy say, the first thing he says is, we're going forward, we're going to win the ball back quickly, and we're going to go forward. It's like, finally.
And
sorry, I interrupted. Carry on.
No. It's. I'm like you, Nigel, because I'm happy, because obviously, witnessing the Van Gaal days. I'm still sort of like trying to, there's certain people in my section at Old Trafford that are still waking up from that era. Do you know what I mean? They're still sort of like asleep. where it was just like total possession. I mean, the thing is, to me, is that is the United way, isn't it? United the way is attack, 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 attack. You know, and the thing for me is like what I think he will do, which I think's been the problem over the last sort of like 6 years since Ferguson's left, is identifying the right player to actually play in the system or the culture of football that the club wants to adopt. I mean, you know, you look at, say, like City and Liverpool, what you will say is what they do get it right, what they do get on right is the players that fit into their system. I mean, City, you know, they're ruthless and they have gone through a lot of players, you know, but ultimately they get it right, don't they, with the players that have to play in their system. And I think that's what he will identify. Now, the thing is, Nigel, go on.
Go on. No, I was going to say, I don't know if you're about to go into it. So, but I thought we probably need to talk about this whole idea of Ronaldo and the fact that everyone keeps saying, well, can Ronaldo fit in a team managed by Ralf Rangnick? What are your thoughts? Is that what you're going on to?
Well, I think that the thing is like, if you my philosophy is that if you're a very good coach, you work a system to get the best. You know, this guy's going to get you goals ultimately. That's going to win you games. So you've got to kind of work out a system, you know, and this is what I'm going to get to, which allows him in there. Now, for me, in Ralph's system, a fit Cavani gets in there straight away because he's going to start the press. If you've got Cavani in there, then you're going to play, to a certain degree, a 4-4-2. And I think that allows Ronaldo to play. I think that allows him to play. I think what will happen is they're going to be very narrow, United, especially when they're out of possession of the ball. They're going to be very, very narrow. But I think what his system does do is there's a lot of pressure on the fullbacks to create the width, and that's who will get fit, you know. And I think at the moment, I don't know if you saw an interview a couple of years ago where he was critical of Luke Shaw, wasn't he? He didn't think Luke Shaw was the player. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was Luke Shaw, I'd be like flipping the coin over to Ralf. I'd be knocking on Ralph's door and say, you know, I saw the interview. How can you make me better?
Yeah. Well,
you know what
that's what you hope will happen. You hope that the players embrace this, and that they'll, that they won't down tools. Which I know, obviously, they're going to be asked to work a lot harder than they've worked before. You know, this guy's not their mate, which I think is an amazing thing, because obviously Ollie was obviously way too friendly with a lot of players. And it's no surprise really that Luke Shaw's form dipped, because he's one of Ollie's favourites. And of course, play good, don't play good, you're still going to get picked the next game. And that's the last thing that someone like a Luke Shaw needs. So now, I think the challenge is on. You know, I think the players no longer have excuses.
Well, I think you're right, because I mean, I'm going to go on now, obviously, to talk about like Sunday's game. And what I saw about Sunday's game was about being defiant, wasn't it, Nigel? It was about, you know, basically making sure you didn't get beat. You know, it was about, and I know, because it was kind of funny, because I was obviously, just before the game, there was a lot of criticism for the partnership of Bailly and Lindelof. I think they've played 13 games together and they haven't kept a clean sheet. Now, they didn't keep a clean sheet on Sunday, but I've got to say, I was really impressed with the pairing. I thought what they did do is they made sure that all the crosses coming into the area were blocked. You know, we might have given away a lot of clearances, but ultimately they could smell danger. And I thought it was one of their best performances together.
It was so funny, because after the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh no. Especially when that ball comes over and Wan-Bissaka misses it, and then Bailly misses it. And it's like, well, to be fair, if it wasn't for De Gea again, we might have been 2 or 3-0 down by half time.
Yeah, it was a good save, wasn't it?
But yeah, I mean, that's his job. I mean, he's a great keeper, and so that's what we rely on. But I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you talked about, was Ralf actually coaching from afar, and the way we were set up, like you say, not to lose, is like part one of what he would implement. It's like being hard to beat, and then obviously part two is then the high press. And I actually thought we actually had a good shape. I'm thinking this can't be Carrick. because why wouldn't I play this for the last 3 years? So this had to have been another coach saying, this is how you're going to sell up.
Well, yeah, because he would have set up against Villarreal like that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Because, I mean, like most United fans, you know, you would have taken the draw against Villarreal, kind of confident that you could beat Young Boys in the last game to qualify. I mean, the very fact that, you know, we rolled the storm and we did, you know, we were more open in that game than we was on Sunday. Whereas on Sunday, first of all, three builders, you know, McTominay, Fred, and Matic. And I've got to say, and Nigel, that, you know, Fred, I thought Fred had a decent game. I thought Fred, McTominay, and Matic, you know, as an actual sort of like midfield three, they worked hard.
Let me just say this before you carry on. Had Fred scored that chip, had he scored that chip, I would have been going crazy. I would have been like, all you Fred haters, sit down. But then when he got the ball, and you know, for me, the obvious pass was to pass it, play it square to Ronaldo, and he tried to chip it, didn't work. I was like, oh no. And my phone went ping, 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 ping. I thought he's played a great game. I mean, what's the matter with you all?
The thing was, Nigel, for me, I thought, because somebody said he's chipped it, and I was thinking, I know, Fred, that was a pass to Ronaldo.
No, it was
that's gone wrong. You could sort of like, you know, everybody turned to each other, and I thought to myself, and it was a shame really, because that's what we're talking about, the implementation of Ralf, because the confidence of Fred, in fact, forget about the shot, but winning the ball so high up, in the opposition's end, you know, and I mean, okay. And the other thing that I wanted to sort of like talk about from that game was obviously, and I know people will say, well, it wasn't really a press, you know, Sancho's goal. But Nigel, once he got that ball, you knew it was in, didn't you?
Oh, I'm so glad for that kid. Did we not call it? Did we not say by Christmas he's gonna? We said it. I tell you what, this is the show, mate. If you want your intelligence, come here.
Exactly. We said that if you follow his form, he always takes to about November to get into stride. And Nigel, that wiggle to send Messi.
It was a Williams wiggle, that, mate. That was it. The keeper's gone. Mendy's gone.
I'm going to copyright that move, Nigel. But the way he wiggled, and he just sat Mendy basically on his backside and put it in. And I thought to myself, you know what? We could actually go, you know, we've actually sort of like, we've been defiant. You know, we've showed a lot of character so far because there's a lot of work. They have to, you know, there is a lot of running. You could see that, you know. Now, the thing is like the shape was good because one thing that you do know from a technical point of view, what they kept on doing United within this formation is constantly making the pitch smaller. So it makes it easier for them to win the ball back. I thought Telles had a decent job at left back.
I'm telling you, mate, I can see the players that are going to thrive under Rangnick. You know, these players that haven't been given a chance. And I know Fred is going to come alive. So all you Fred haters, get ready.
I think, to be honest with you, one of the things that has obviously been most talked about under Rangnick will be the development of McTominay and Fred. Obviously, they're looking at maybe bringing another defensive midfielder in. They're talking about Hadara from, you know, Leipzig. But the thing is, as well, you see, he's got an eye on the market that a lot of people won't see. So a bit like Wenger, he'll be able to unearth gems that people aren't even thinking about, you know.
And the thing is, it's just such a win-win, isn't it? Because it's like we've been talking about Declan Rice for ages. And one thing that it's always frustrated me, and probably frustrated you, is when we're always paying a premium for this player, and then some other club, or like when Maguire came to United, and then Leicester just go and spend 10 million and replace him with somebody. It's like, well, why did we just save ourselves 70 million and buy that same player? It's like, it drives me. Say, where are our what are they called again? Scouts. Where are our scouts? But this guy knows where they are. And it's like, well, it's just a win-win, isn't it?
Well, it's a win-win, and I think like, which brings us over to the other subject, which is obviously the Pochettino debate, because obviously there's going to be a lot of talk, and there is a lot of talk about the who the next manager will be. Now, a lot of people will say, well, United interviewed for the interim job 4 or 5 candidates. There was Garcia, there was Valverde, obviously. There was looking at the manager, the young coach at Sporting Lisbon. And, now comes like, they're looking at the manager going forward. Now, the manager going forward, Pochettino, forget what he's saying in his press conferences, he has to be professional. Yeah. And the key is to listen to the end of his press conferences. He's not denying taking the United job. All he's saying is, for at the moment in time, I'm the manager of PSG.
Yeah.
Now, to me, I don't know about you, Nigel, but it doesn't look like a happy man. I was looking at him, the body language for PSG on the line last week.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look like a happy manager to me there.
And I tell you what, I think I might have said it in our WhatsApp group. If PSG is like an audition for United, then I think he's failing. Because PSG has big characters. United have got big characters. PSG has a stellar squad. United has a stellar squad. PSG's biggest problem is, how do you get all these players playing and keeping them happy? United, how do you get all these players and keep them happy? And is he getting a tune out of PSG? Okay, they win everything, but the league's rubbish. We all know that. But those players aren't playing for him. And it's like, then whatever project he's selling, they're not buying. And so I'm like, well, if you can't get a tune out of these players at PSG, under that spotlight and under that pressure in France, what makes you think you can get a tune out of United under the intense pressure here at United? So I'm like, as an audition, mate, you're blowing it, because I wanted to see PSG play amazing in last week in Champions League, and they played terribly.
I think that's a really, really good point that you're making, Nigel, but I've just got to give you an example there, just to counter that argument a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Thomas Tuchel.
Well, what about Thomas Tuchel?
He had the same problems at PSG, and he's come over here, implemented the same ideas, and look at Chelsea, they're just flying. Now, I think the problem with PSG, and you could see it against City, is if you've got 3 players, Nigel, that ain't going to trap back, you've got 10 outfield players against 7. It's just too much of a luxury to. I mean, it was kind of embarrassing at times. You got like a fullback for PSG. He's got 3 players. He's trying to defend against 3 players. You know, at times Mahrez, Gundogan, and Walker. Young Mendes is up against 7. You're thinking, come on, give him a bit of support.
Okay, so you genuinely think the problems are at PSG? It's a cultural thing at PSG.
Yeah, and I look at that, because I look at, like, you look at like that City game, which is a great example, where basically, and I think I said this to you, like at the time when both of us were watching the game and we were WhatsApping each other. Yeah. The problem is basically a 7-3 formation.
Yeah.
And you could see it, couldn't you? As we like to say on our podcast, Nigel, your eyes don't lie. Your eyes don't lie. And you're looking at like where basically the City fullbacks, like Walker, and like, because I mean, they put Zinchenko in the midfield in that game.
Yeah.
But the wide men are thinking, I can't believe how much space I've got here. He's not tracking me back. I'm going forward. And okay, they break at lightning speed. But if you're a very, really, really good team, like, and you're, an elite team in the elite competition, you're going to counter that all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If you're saying that if you think the problems are PSG, and obviously you gave a good example in Tuchel, But I don't know. I do wonder, because we're talking about heavy metal football. I think heavy metal football is perfect for the English game, and obviously these heavy metal managers are having, are receiving great dividends by implementing that style of football here. And I don't know if Poch is of the same mold or not. So, does Poch beat Liverpool? He took Tottenham to the final, and got rolled over by Liverpool. I wonder if Poch now can still beat Liverpool. Can he still beat City? Can he go head to head with Pep and with Klopp? And I've every confidence, Ragnick, Ten Hag, those guys can. I just don't know if Poch can. So I'm not obviously, we've been through a lot with United, so I'm no longer eyes wide shut. It's got to be eyes wide open with who we appoint to be that manager.
Correct. I mean,
and obviously the two people. Go on.
Sorry, the two things that we know now, is with Rangnick, he's going to make the team tighter, because you've seen it already. The evidence is there on Sunday's game. Yeah, he's going to make the team tighter. Yeah, harder to beat. Yeah, he's going to make them fitter. Now, Pochettino at Spurs, he had a great defense. I mean, Pochettino was a centre half himself. He's the guy, Nigel, that brings down Michael Owen Pochettino in Korea in 2002. That's him with the long hair. That's Pochettino. Okay. But what he did is he had a strong back line at Spurs, didn't he, Pochettino? He really did. You think about how tough they were, like in the midfield. It's solid. It's a very sort of solid team. Now, yourself over the last few weeks, especially with the Ollie era, we were winning the games, Nigel, and we weren't quite sure how we'd won them. It was chaos, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just freestyle.
Freestyle, wasn't it? It was PlayStation freestyling football, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's that whole thing. It's that whole thing, though. Sorry, man. It's like, okay, so Poch definitely makes us better because he's a better manager than Ollie. Yeah. But now I think Ralf just changes the game, because now we've got somebody who can he can completely change the ethos and culture of United to be absolutely, from top to bottom, a footballing club. And so it's really about, how high can this United team go? And I think with Poch, it's going to be better than Ollie, but is it the height we can actually go? And I think we have to stop messing about now with, let's take a chance on this guy. We've got to get somebody who we know is going to deliver what we want.
Exactly, because, I mean, if you think about it, Nigel, we started the season, and I can go back to our first podcast, that we did at the beginning of this season, when we were forecasting the season. The first thing you said is the fixture list is favourable. Up until the last couple of games, it's a very favourable start to the season, where you would expect us to be in the conversation. Now, in all honesty, we're looking at top four, aren't we?
Yeah, well, that's it now. The league's gone on it.
The league's gone.
Although you can never say, because I mean, all the big clubs still have to play each other. So if we were on a stupid run now and didn't lose again, then obviously mathematics.
But we go into another, after tonight's game against Arsenal. We go into another, I think, until about March the 6th, where the fixtures are favourable. So what we've got to do now is, from a club perspective, is go on a run. A run of games. Now, usually when a manager comes in, that's when players, all of a sudden they start putting shifts in again, don't they? Because their futures are up in the air. So for me, it'd be interesting to see now also as well, does he get any money in the transfer, in the actual transfer window in January? Because from my point of view, Nigel, then is he then identifying players for the incoming manager?
It's interesting, because I mean, there's talk of 100 mil coming his way, and I don't know whether that's 100 mil straight or whether that's players leaving and freeing up money. And obviously, we don't know the situation with Paul Pogba and with Jesse Lingard and with Van der Beek. So there's a lot of players that whose futures and
I
yeah,
think
Juan Mata as well.
Juan Mata.
Yeah.
I think Juan Mata would possibly go in
Yeah.
because he's not playing, is he? He's not playing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I think and I do love like Juan Mata, but when I've actually seen him in games now, especially Premier League games, I kind of think they're too fast for him.
Yeah.
You know, physically.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a beautiful. I love him. You can't, help but love the guy. You know, but I think the game's just too fast now. And also as well, Nigel, I think with Lingard and Pogba, if they do go, that frees up a lot of money. Just from the salaries to get in the players, because it's almost now it's evolving a new team, isn't it?
Yeah. So well, that's it. So that's what I was going on to. So I say, so all things being equal, like you said, the run now until March is great. I heard Roy Keane banging on and talking about, well, United were never going to be in for the league, and we are just really winning some cup competitions would be all we'd expect for now. And I don't think I agree. I think man for man, that team is capable or has the potential with the right management, the right coaching to do something really special. And I don't think we have to wait 2 or 3 years. Now Liverpool are brilliant, City are brilliant, but as we've seen on their day, anybody can beat anybody in this league. And okay, at the moment Liverpool are bashing everybody, but they're still only third. You know what I mean? If everybody else still wins, then
let's have it right, Nigel. Yeah. It's one league title in 30 years.
Exactly.
Liverpool, it's one league title in 30 years.
So, right. So I'm still optimistic. I'm thinking what United needed was a proper manager, and we have a proper manager. So those players, like I say, have no excuse. If they want it, I think we've got all the bits together now to make a real good show of it for the rest of the season. Okay, even if we don't win it, we should at least be trying to win it. You know what I mean? And I think we'll look back and say, well, maybe if we'd had it from the beginning of the season, and that sets us up for next season. But crying out, this is a good team.
I think, to me, to be honest with you, this goes back, and I think I said this to you, like going back after we reviewed the loss in the Europa League final. That team needed to win something.
Yeah.
They needed to win something. Now, the problem for me now is it's about that winning mentality, so there's only two, basically, like really, the league's kind of gone. You've got the FA Cup and maybe the Champions League. Now, sometimes you never know with the Champions League, if the draw is kind to you, you might get to a final. But I think the thing is as a club, we've got to win something by the end of, we've got to try and win something as soon as we can.
Yeah. I'm not having that the league's gone. How far off are we? 9 points?
12.
Oh, we're 12 points. I thought we were 9 points.
No, well, Chelsea won last night.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, okay, maybe it's
Chelsea and City.
I thought 9 points, that's claw-backable, if that's a word.
I think as long as this team learns to defend better, and hopefully Varane. I mean, having Varane out has made a major difference. So
and that's the thing as well, isn't it? We've got some big players out.
Yeah, exactly. So
and if Maguire can use this opportunity to really kind of fix his head, then we've got a great defense. Potentially a great defense.
Exactly. So
and we've now got a manager that get a tune out this midfield. Oh mate.
Exactly.
I'm expecting great things. Go on.
Exactly. So tonight, obviously, we play Arsenal. Yeah. Arsenal are obviously, they're on a bit of a run themselves. They got beat, obviously, the other week against Liverpool 4-0. But they've actually galvanized their season. It'll be interesting because obviously, at the beginning of the season, Arteta was seen as a bit of a joke figure when he'd lost, hadn't scored, and they'd lost free on the bounce. Now, I think if they actually don't get beat by United tonight, I think it's their best ever run against United in the Premier League era. Okay. So they basically will go 7 games without getting beaten. Yeah. For me, tonight it is about a solid performance and a win and getting the ball running. So Nigel, can I ask for your prediction?
Yeah, I probably get battered. No, I genuinely think we're gonna win this one tonight. I'm
okay.
Yeah, I'm expecting a win tonight. I mean, even if we take some momentum from the Chelsea game, you know, people might argue we had no right getting anything out of that game. We nearly won that game. You know, considering where we are as a team, you know, we nearly won that game. And, I see us not losing to Arsenal. So all I can see really is players turning up and winning that game. And like I say, Sancho's saying that I think we've actually got Sancho. And I think he's a game winner all by himself. I'm really impressed with him. And I can see nothing. And it's Arsenal, man. I know, and like you say, you know, current form aside, I just don't see them, laying a glove on us. If we,
Okay.
yeah.
So, what's your predicted score then, Nigel?
Now my score is going to be. I don't think they're going to score. It's going to be 2-0 is what I'm going for.
Okay, I'll go for a hard-fought 1-0 win, Nigel.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to go for tonight. Do you know what I mean? So, Nigel, that brings us to an end of another Red Shirt podcast. Guys, as usual, like, subscribe, get your comments in. We love when you get your comments in, especially when you guys, especially when you guys totally disagree with Nigel. We love that part. Do you know what I mean? But get them in, and also, guys, this now's our 41st episode, isn't it, Nigel? So 41st. We're well on the way to 50. Yeah. So thank you, guys. We've got over 40 now. So a year older Nigel's age. You know what I mean? So this is the 41st. So, guys, a big thank you. Yeah. And a big shout out. But please get in your comments and get in your likes and get in your subscribes.
And just before you go, we've got some good news on the horizon. So keep watching, keep listening to some really good things coming. So thank you. Like I said, because of your support, we're really beginning to take a bit of a journey with you guys, and we're really enjoying it. And there's some good news in the pipeline. I'm not going to spoil it now, but there's some big things coming. So keep watching.
Yeah, and a big thank you. So Nigel, as usual, we say keep safe, love football, and
keep that red flag flying. Come on, Fred.
See you later, guys.
See you later.
Bye-bye. Bye.